भारतीय संगीत परंपरा के साधकों की सूची बहुत लंबी है। आज जिस विशेष व्यक्तित्व का हम साक्षात्कार करने जा रहे हैं उनका नाम है श्री अमरनाथ। अमरनाथ जी का शास्त्रीय संगीत के क्षेत्र में बहुमूल्य योगदान है। अमरनाथ एक ऐसा व्यक्तित्व है जो संगीत को जीते हैं, महसूसते हैं और भोगते हैं। इसी संगीत के माध्यम से वे कबीर, सूर, तुलसी, बुल्ले शाह और मीरा जैसे महान आत्माओं की सोहबत में अपने आप को खड़ा पाते हैं।
जब नाद साथ
Pandit Amarnath, musical genius, was widely acknowledged as the foremost exponent of the Indore Gharana, pioneered by his guru, the late Ustad Amir Khan Sahib. He was born in 1924 in the village of Jhang near Lahore. It was a town associated closely with the story of Heer, whose mazhar was strangely called Mai Heer Ka Mazhar, and for whom he had heard his mother had often sung. The lonely, motherless Amarnath in his childhood felt drawn to the Sufi music associated with the place, and here was born a lifelong connect. He was voted by Dr. Raghav Menon in the Times of India as one of the 4 great genius musicians of Hindustani music in the 20th century. The many facets of his genius included the pioneering of a new teaching method to be handed down through generations. He refreshed every aspect of tradition that he worked on, including the discovery of new rags, composing for theatre and cinema, and expressing the finer nuances of the art of music through lecture demonstrations. Above all, in the age of stardom, at a time when a rehearsed performance was the order of the day, he was in pure meditation while he performed rag after rag on the concert platform. In the manner of the legendary court composers of the Hindustani tradition, Pandit Amarnath contributed over 200 original Khayal compositions and several rags to the nation's classical repertoire. This achievement places him in a most distinguished and rare category of musicians of the 19th century, the Vagekars. Panditji has thought out many original rags and rag compounds as well as adopted several Carnatic rags into the Hindustani style, which now form an integral part of the repertoire of Hindustani music and of his Gharana. Some of this creative output, both literary as well as musical, has been archived at the Indira Gandhi National Centre for the Arts in New Delhi and the Samvad Foundation in Mumbai, run by Satyashil Deshpande. Panditji was initially nurtured by his first guru, Professor B.N. Datta. In those days of gracious gurus, Dattaji gave the young Amarnath encouragement to move on to learning music from his idol, Ustad Amir Khan Sahib. Ustad Amir Khan Sahib was initially not keen on accepting this young man as his shishya, but soon that changed. From being the reluctant guru, Ustad Amir Khan Sahib became the indulgent father within no time. He even gave in to his shishya's gentle persuasion and reassurance and sang the only ghazal of his career, composed by Pandit Amarnath with complete trust in his ability. This was for a documentary film on Mirza Ghalib made for the Ghalib centenary year celebrations. The documentary was made by the legendary filmmaker M.S. Satyu, and the ghazal in Ustad Amir Khan Sahib's voice was sheer magic. In fact, Panditji's relationship with Sri Satyu was one of a perfect meeting of minds. Even when the physical distance between their cities separated the two, Satyuji often connected with Panditji and was familiar with the latter's love for Punjab. Satyuji and Panditji were both very strongly pained about Punjab burning in the 80s, and so when Satyuji was making Choli Daman, he remembered Panditji once again. The result was ever so soulful. For Panditji, who lived the Guru Shishya philosophy, it was time to give back to music. If in Ghalib he proved himself to be the devoted and loving Shishya, now it was time to play the indulgent Guru himself. He proudly walked in the footsteps of his gurus by being an exemplary and generous guru himself. Teaching since 1957, first as head vocalist music department in Triveni Kala Sangham, and then as Guru Hindustani music at the Sri Ram Bhartiya Kala Kendra. Two of Panditji's favourite Shishyas, the late Shanti Sharma and Rekha Bharadwaj, sang soulful compositions for their Guru. Several performing artists have trained under him. Well known amongst them are the late Mahendra Sharma, Baldev Raj Verma, the late Shanti Sharma, Amarjeet Ji, Shri Brij Bhushan, Dr. Chandranath Chatterjee, Vikram Seth and Rekha Bharadwaj, as well as students from Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Panditji's composition of the Meera Bhajan in the film Garam Kot won Lata Mangeshkar Ji's heart, and she included it in the list of her top 10 favourites of the 1950s. Panditji is the author of Hansa Ke Bain, a collection of 101 poems in Hindi. Tinged with the philosophy of attachment with detachment, many of his poems are in the form of poetry that can be sung. His verse was influenced by the Sufi approach to life and steeped in the Bhakti Ras, where the lover and the divine are one.
संगीत में एक ही रस होता है, वो है भक्ति रस। श्रृंगार करता है वो भी भक्ति में करता है, करुणा होती है वो भी भक्ति में होती है। तो इसी तरीके से भक्ति ही अल्टीमेट रस है।
Gulzar Saab once remarked at how moved he was by Panditji's generosity in sharing both his music and his poetry that made him different from most stalwarts of the arts. Panditji's family includes his late wife Maya Chawla, his son Dr. Vishal Chawla, and two daughters, the late Vidushi Bindu Chawla and Gajra Kotari. Panditji performed widely both in India and abroad. He was the first Indian to perform at the prestigious Fogg Art Museum, Harvard University, USA. Over the years, he performed at concerts and major music festivals all over the country, including Shankar Lal, Swami Haridas, Tansen, Vishnu Digambar, and the Savai Gandharva festivals. His admirers were from all walks of life, from immigrants to editors of national newspapers to best-selling authors. All they wanted was to learn music from him when he was alive, and all they wanted to do after he left his body was to eternally celebrate his music, the music that he left behind for all of us as he finally joined his beloved mother to sing for Mai Heer.